I live walking about 15 minutes from the mother house. And I got to know the sisters. Actually, I'm a Bambi. I went to St. Hubert's Catholic High School for Girls. And one of the things that we had was Monsignor Minall girls. And you would get together and you would go out 2 by 2 down into West Philly and South Philly. You'd go into a neighborhood, you'd gather up the children, you would knock on a door and ask if you could use their house and sit around the table and talk about Jesus. And it was through Sister Francesca and Monsignor Minor. So you would start out, your first experience was you would go to our mother house and they would have this day. And they would talk to us about going and evangelizing, talking to the children about Jesus. And then you would get this brown folder with the holy cards and the medals and the different things to give out to the children as you spoke with them. And you would go out 2 by 2. You'd go on a Saturday. And I remember we'd get on the L, ride down into South Philly. We'd get off, my partner and I, and we would look around. And, the children would be out playing and we'd call them over and they would get all, after the first time, they'd get all excited when they saw us, Could you imagine doing that today, knocking on a door? But anyway, we did that. And so twice you would go to the mother house. But I thought this was really neat. This was something I would like to do, just gather up children, because I love kids, gather up children and talk about Jesus. So I have an aunt who's a school sister of Notre Dame. So whenever I would talk about, I think maybe it wouldn't be too bad to be a sister, Well, everybody just assumed I was going to be a school sister of Notre Dame. And I remember, and my dad, who was a Knights of Columbus, at Thanksgiving, they would go to the mother house and do a meal for the children at HP. And the men would always get a nice fresh loaf of bread that was made by the sisters to bring home. And I remember sitting at the table when my dad came home with the bread, and I said, "That's the place for me." I said, "They have good bread." But what happened was I started working volunteer work at our mission center. We said we could come and help stuff envelopes. And so I did that from, I guess it was my sophomore year. And then the day that I entered was the day that my father's car broke down. And I remember my father saying that I could either walk over and then they would come later with my stuff, or I could ride the bike over, because I was only 15 minutes away. But then he says, "No, we're just kidding." He said, "We'll get Ray, my brother-in-law. He'll bring his car and we'll." So the whole little troop came over. But it was a real blessed time for everybody. Of the 6 children, I was the first one to leave home. So that part was hard. And but what I was really going to talk about was the blessing that comes with being a sister of the Blessed Sacrament. And you always receive so much more than you give. And you get to know people in a whole different light. And I think the beauty and the blessing of being a sister of the Blessed Sacrament is that we became one with the people. We lived among the people. We worked with the people. And the idea was that you never talked down, that you respected the people, you met them where they were, and you lifted them up. And our big thing was, you taught during the day, and then after school, you went out on visitation and you went into their homes and you sat and you talked with them. If they offered you something, you took it, because you really saw what poverty really was when you worked in our missions, but yet you saw the beauty and the thankfulness and the faith of the people. I think that was the thing that got me, like you would see, as you see today, what is happening to people. We gave their children a good education, but I think it was the visitations. It was going into their homes, sitting with them, talking with them, and respecting them for whom they were. And I think one of my blessings too was that I got to experience both apostolates. I worked in the urban areas of Philadelphia, in New York, in Atlanta, in New Orleans. I worked in the rural with, in Rain, in Lake Charles. And I said, and then I worked in the Native American. I went out to St. Michael's, Arizona. That was my last mission. And two different cultures that were very similar in lots of ways, and especially with their faith. And to be able to experience that it opens up your world, your whole prayer life changes, and it becomes heartwarming rather than regimental. And I think that's the best way to put it. And I think that's one of the things that Mother Catherine, especially with the Eucharist, with Blessed Sacrament, that we are all children of God. We're all invited to that table. We all have that equality, and to respect it and to live up to it. The blessings that I have received as a sister of the Blessed Sacrament are mind-boggling. I have received so much more, than I have ever given. What I have given is little to what I have received, and experience that I never would have had I not said my yes. And if I had not said my yes to the sisters. We started out at 1663 Bristol Pike, and now we're at 9896 Bustleton Avenue. And even that has been a blessing, and a chance and an opportunity for us. We're it's a Protestant run facility, run through the Lutheran. The basic, when you look at the census, it's mainly Jewish. And then, but now because we're here, then the next is Catholic and then Protestant. But just the interchange between the different religious groups and wanting to know about us and us learning about them has been a blessing also. And I know when we first came here, actually, a busload, it was mainly the Jewish people, went to our mother house to actually see, where we had come from. And on Thursdays, when we would get together with the chaplain's chat, when we could get together, they would ask us, about what it was like to be Catholic, what it was like to be a sister. And we would be asking them about their different things. We joined them in their Seder meals, and they actually came to some of our services. And so there's that, the knowledge of actually our roots, and all of that is, would have never happened if we hadn't arrived here. And we are still doing ministry. We are still, we're still, most of us are still very active in what we do. Some go off the grounds to minister, and some of us minister here, listening to people. They'll come and I work in the general store and volunteer, and it's almost like being a bartender or a barber, because people will come and they'll, if nobody's around, they'll bring you, can I talk to you, and it's not just the residents, the workers also, and they feel confident that they can share things with the sisters and not be judged, first of all, and not have it spread all over the place, secondly, that we will be able to give them advice or we will pray for them.